Do I want to get bottom surgery or not? Today, in this video, I will not only answer that question, I will also tell you or give you some advice on how to decide if you want to get bottom surgery or not, on how to make the choice, how I made that decision, and everything that comes along with that, because it's really a lot. Getting bottom surgery is really not something simple. It's a life-changing surgery. You should be aware of that all the time. And yes, that's really something you need big consideration on. You need to think a lot about it, and you should really do lots of things which I'm gonna tell you about. So back in 2022, when I came out to my parents, they asked me if I want to get bottom surgery or not. But by that time it was quite new for me, everything. I needed to accommodate to the new circumstances that come along with being outed as transgender and whatever. You're getting just bombed with so many questions, and by that time I had the imagination basically, what if I could just change what's in between my legs? What if I could just change that from one day to another and everything is fine? Of course, that moment I said yes, of course I would do it. I will get bottom surgery. I really want get that surgery and be a real woman, for example. That was what I was thinking about by that time. So that's more than 2 years ago now. And then I had quite a long time, I would say 1.5 years, where I just thought, well, no, it's okay. It's okay. I don't want to get bottom surgery. It's really okay how I'm feeling. It's something people can get if they want to, of course, but no, in my case, that's not really what I need. So I'm okay with it. That was what I thought for a very long time during my transition now. But then, of course, as my transition went on and I changed my appearance and everything, and I may had a little glow up, I think, during this summer. So just before I started making videos on YouTube, I think I really changed this year a lot, and I will probably also talk about this in my next video next week, which will, by the way, be my last video this year. Do not miss out on that. Please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like this video also, by the way. That would make me really happy. So yeah, I changed my appearance, or it changed. I would not say that I really did a lot for it. It just came by nature, by that process which the transition and everything involves, of course. So that went on really well. And then I was thinking about, well, okay, I'm really happy now. And what if I could be so happy because everything is so good, like how I want to feel? So I assume it may also be an effect of HRT, to be honest, because as I told in my 6-month experience video, which I uploaded 2 weeks ago, there I said, for example, it made me just so happy at the start. And I think it's still a thing that's going on in me. I'm feeling so much confident with myself, and I'm so much more happy than before. By the way, I was always like happy with my life. I never suffered of depression or anything. By the way, I was always, I was just a healthy human all the time. So that's also something which is maybe different to a lot of trans people, I could imagine. But that's another story. That's a different story I can tell you another time, next year maybe. So yeah, I was really happy, but I was always thinking, I'm only 90% or 95% happy, and what's missing to be really 100% happy, or to really be 100% myself, is to not have gotten bottom surgery yet. So that was always something that came in my mind again and again, because I was feeling well, how I looked, I was feeling good, how I could go out and be self-confident like all the time. And yeah, I achieved some very big goals by the time, I thought. And so yeah, I needed more goals or new goals. And in my perception, the only way to achieve these goals is to get bottom surgery. So yeah, now there's a very important question everybody should ask themselves when considering getting bottom surgery. Is it that you feel uncomfortable just in your private space, when you're for yourself? Do you feel unhappy just about the things which are existing? Or do you feel pressured by the society, by the public, how you get looked at, for example? This is the question you need to ask yourself in that moment. So do you just feel uncomfortable or unhappy in public because you feel pressured by society, by other people, how you look or how they look at you? Or do you also have the same feelings in your private space, when you're just for yourself in your room, for example, or for example when showering? A lot of trans people also struggle with showering, for example, because they need to look down, of course, sometime. And that's a really important question in my opinion. And I didn't really answer that question for myself by the time, and what I did was I talked to other trans people. I talked to like 10 different people, some people who had bottom surgery, some people who had good outcomes, good results, some people who were not that lucky and also are not really happy with the results. And I also talked to trans people who don't want to get bottom surgery. So I had like 10 talks with 10 different people in total, and I wanted to know literally everything about them, what they considered in making their decision and what their thinkings and thoughts were about by the time. And by that I had a very diverse picture of what is bottom surgery really, what is talked about in public and what is either not talked about by trans people, and why also. Because I mean, you can look it up on YouTube. Just Google, for example, bottom surgery, male to female, whatever, and you get so many reports by people who have good results, who may also even brag about it. I also saw such videos on YouTube, for example, which is also, by the way, in my opinion, it's a great source to start. Just watch other videos of people who had bottom surgery, or watch videos from people who don't want to get bottom surgery. But in my case, I had personal talks, I had private talks, and that's a really different case in that point, because you can go much into deep. Of course, you can ask many more questions, for example, which also get answered in most cases. So these private talks were really, really good in my opinion. So I had a very diverse picture of what is bottom surgery really about, and what do I need to consider when I decide to get bottom surgery or not, for example. And after that, or I'd say even before I started these talks, or had all these talks this summer, by the way, I was pretty sure already that I want to get bottom surgery. And I really wanted to challenge myself with these talks to maybe change my decision, or maybe to reconsider my decision. But after all, to be honest, after all I had these talks, and I also talked to my therapist after these talks, by the way, I'm still very sure I want to get bottom surgery. For real. And it's not just, you cannot just say that, I want bottom surgery and everything is fine. No, it's so much thinking about it, getting facts together, getting all the information together, and it's not even easy. It's quite complicated also, in my opinion. And it was a decision process of 1 year, maybe 2 years. Maybe it even started with my inner coming out, I think. And I think it also started this process of thinking about getting bottom surgery or not. It even started before I even knew I was trans. So because that was back in 2019, for example, I had a look at my Google search history recently, and in 2019, for example, I already Googled things like bottom surgery, male to female, such things. Of course I Googled them in German, but I was already interested in that, or I already looked up for information on the internet many years before I even came out, or even before I had my inner coming out, for example. So yeah, I want to get bottom surgery. Yeah, now I want to come back to that question, if I'm rather feeling uncomfortable in private space for myself, with myself, or is it just in public when I being seen by other people, for example. And yeah, at the beginning of my transition, I'd say I felt really pressured by the public, but I tried to withstand that pressure. I also talked to my therapist back then about this, and yeah, I just try to withstand the pressure by just don't giving any fucks about when I'm wearing skinny jeans, for example, and you can see a bulge, for example. Yeah, I just try to be confident and don't really care about weird looks by other people, and it worked for some time. Yeah, it worked, and the thing is now, as already said before, this summer I had kind of a glow up, as I say for myself. So I was really perceived as a woman, I think, in 99% of all cases, and I also changed the way I looked. I changed my style, for example, that changed as well. And now in the cold winter months, for example, I switched back to rather wearing skinny jeans, for example, and I think the pressure came back a little bit. And another thing which I also started this summer, for example, I talked about this in my recent video as well, is I started working out, I started going to the gym. I also bought myself some nice cute gym outfits containing leggings, of course, and tops which are really tight, and yeah, of course you can see my bulge as well when I'm going to the gym. Although I try to hide it by some techniques, but as well I do not tuck, by the way, because it just don't really works, and I also feel uncomfortable when tucking, so I just ditch it. So yeah, and by that, these are two things which made me feel uncomfortable in public, for example. But what also came to my mind more and more was me feeling uncomfortable also at home sometimes, because for example, in summer you're wearing shorts, for example, and it's just not the same with having some volume between your legs, where the things you're wearing would just look so much better without having that bulge, or just with having more space between your legs, for example. That would also make myself much more happy when trying on new outfits, for example, or when just being for myself. I noticed this summer, when I'm just being for myself, when I'm having me time, when I'm caring for myself, doing some self-care, which I'm doing more and more even now. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable, but it makes me unhappy. I got a feeling, and it's not that I didn't have that before or at the start of my transition, for example. I just notice that I'm feeling so happy with all the other things now, that this is making me more and more unhappy. Or now it shows to me like there is everything going so good in my transition by now, but now this point is making me more and more uncomfortable, more and more unhappy, I think, because everything is so good already, and now I have other things to like change or to make better, for example. And I think getting bottom surgery really is one of that points by now. And also one point that came to my mind and is getting more and more important by now is I always, even before I came out, even before I knew I was trans, I always was very, very curious about how would sex as a woman feel like. And this is also one big point that comes into consideration when I making this decision is, yes, I want to have sex like a woman. or I want to have sex just as women have sex, for example. I want to feel that. I want to experience that. And of course, I can't have that without getting bottom surgery. So, yeah, I want to get bottom surgery. I'm very sure about this. And yeah, this is basically how I made this decision. So, it's basically really about this big question: how happy or uncomfortable or not do you feel in public or in a private space? And also something you have to think about, of course, is it really worth it for me? Because you have only one attempt, and if it fails, it failed. And of course you can correct some things, but not so much that it's really a comfortable life after that, for example. That's also things I heard, by the way, from people I talked to who had not so good results. Yeah, it's a big risk, of course, and about all the medical stuff that comes together with that surgery and that decision, I would really recommend you to talk to your therapist first, and then maybe have an appointment with a doctor who does these surgeries, which I didn't have by now, by the way, but I will next year probably. And yeah, my goal would be by now to have to get bottom surgery in 2026, the earliest, because the waiting list is so long. There's no possibility to get bottom surgery in 2025, like everywhere in every country. And I'm also not sure, by the way, if I want to get bottom surgery here in Switzerland, because by now it's getting better and better. Results from Switzerland are also getting better, as I've heard recently. But I'm also thinking about going to Thailand, because of course Thailand is the big trans surgery country with the most and best experts in the world. And yeah, as said, you only have one attempt to get bottom surgery, and if it fails, it's really, really bad for the whole rest of your life. And yeah, that's also something you need to consider when you want to move on, when to move forward with your bottom surgery. But I think that's content for another video in the future. Do not miss on that. Please subscribe to my channel. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. I hope I answered you that question, and I hope also I could help a little bit in making that decision. But yeah, of course, I'm not a therapist, so please talk to your therapist first. I think in literally every country you can get bottom surgery. You also need to talk to your therapist for I don't know how many times before you can even get bottom surgery, and I think that's also completely right. And yeah, that's for today's video. Like and subscribe, and see you next time. Bye!